I'm Coach Simon at Northwest Fencing Center, and today I would like to share a little bit about my teaching philosophy and how the French school has influenced what I do today, and moving to the US has allowed me to evolve that teaching. Learning from the French school has been great for me because it has taught me about the process of teaching. I see myself as a teacher before seeing myself as a coach. The process of teaching is important because it's going to bring the athlete a solid base from which they can build themselves as an individual fencer. I will teach them the basics of what's important, of what I think is important, and from there I will allow them to improvise, to create, to do something that's personal to them and lead them to ownership of what they do on the strip. The French school is very traditional, and we could say the same about the Russian school, the Italian school, the Polish school. What these do greatly is the idea of universal language and how different coaches from different cities are able to speak the same language. So when a fencer works with a coach in Paris or with a coach in Marseille or Lyon, this fencer has something that's consistent in terms of technique, in terms of knowledge. The limit of a traditional schools appears when you do not evolve, when you are stuck in the past, when you are stuck on principles that are outdated. Fencing, like many sports, is in constant evolution. If you look at fencing 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, it's less mobile, it's less athletic. A lot of things have changed. The rules have changed, especially in rifle weapons. We see constant evolution. Every 5 years, every 10 years, something is completely different and changes the way we fence. As a coach and as athlete, we simply have to evolve. If you want to stay performant, you have to adjust. The sport evolves. If you do not, well, you will not perform at the level you would like. Growing up as a fencer in France, I was very fortunate to have coaches that allow me to think for myself. While they taught me very solid base, very traditional base, they also made me think about what I was doing and how I was going to use the skills they were teaching me. At all levels in my progression, my coaches were very much laid back when it came to strip coaching. I did not have somebody over my shoulder telling me every second of the bout, do this, do that, move forward, move back, parry 4, parry 6. I was able to take ownership of the fencing bout, and they were here to guide me when I needed help. That's something I think is extremely important, and in my teaching today, something that's my number one priority. Fencers fence for themselves. They don't fence for me, they fence for their goal, their achievements. I want them to be proud of what they do. Whatever the achievement is, if they're proud, I'm happy. Moving to the US in 2008 has brought a whole new level to my teaching. What I found here is the idea of no traditional school. Instead, fencing in the US is a huge melting pot of different schools. We have Russian coaches, Italian coaches, French coaches, and you can see all these schools working together and being successful. The most successful fencers are actually the fencers that take a little thing from each of these different schools. So my teaching today represents that mindset. The idea that you have to take a little bit of everything you learn. Take influence from all the coaches you get to work with. See what works for you, what doesn't. Leave behind you what doesn't work for you and incorporate what you like. I believe the teaching of fencing should be pragmatic and in phase with the reality of the strip, the reality of how your body works, how mechanic works. Some tradition in the French teaching don't really make sense, but they were taught one way for many years and they kind of worked. But as the sport evolved, as people evolve and science bring new things to the table, we realize that some of these old principles are not applicable or don't really work. So one of the things I try on a daily basis is to think, what makes sense on this trip? What makes sense for that person in particular? I might teach advance one way with one fencer and adjust it slightly for the other one. Some people like to be more offensive. Some people like to be more defensive. Some like to solve their opponent, while some others like to impose their game to the opponent. Because of that difference from a fencer to another, as a coach, I have to adjust. I have to get a feel for what's going to make sense, what's going to be successful for this fencer in particular. I want my fencers to take ownership of what they're doing. Their success is going to be whatever they decided. Their success is going to be their own. I'll be part of the journey, I'll be here to help, but in the end, the success is theirs, not mine. A few principles are very present in my teaching. One of them is work discipline. The more effort you put into something, the more likely to be successful. That being said, you have to keep in mind that failure is going to be part of the journey. And failing at something is not an end. Failing at something is actually necessary for you to learn, evolve, and grow from it.